President of Technology and Innovation, Synchrogenix, Certara company. Thanks.
Thank you, Todd. Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm a technologist by profession. I'm currently in the private sector in life sciences and pharma. And just before this, I was at the CDC as the chief software architect, leading much of the modernization for the scientific applications. So that's really my background. And even prior to that, a long time ago, working at Sapien, one of the sponsors here, good times. But the thing is, though, when I think about blockchain, I actually think that the core of blockchain is much more than technology. There's been a lot of focus about technology, which is great. I'm a technologist. However, when I look back and reflect on Satoshi Nakamoto's original Bitcoin paper from 2008, a core component of that, and I think it's one that it's really important for us to understand, is all about value creation. To me, that is different, right? This idea of what I call a value creation attribution is core to blockchain. And if you're doing anything in public blockchains, right? And of course, most of us here in my former life and most of you guys are in the public space. You got to think public. And it's great, and I like my buddies like Mark and the folks over at, other places that have private protocols. That's fine. It's a good place to start. However, there are many, many use cases for which the trust engine needs to, at some point, go to a public model. So to me, this is a really important concept. And some people have talked about it, but I think we need to really kind of keep in mind, where does the token fit in? How do we make it use? How do we use it? And then last but not least, this idea of the culture. People, I think earlier on the keynotes spoke about this as well. So, this is this idea of us wanting to remove the middlemen, not wanting to pay 30% to Uber for the privilege of having a peer of ours drive us, right? And there's many examples of that, but again, I believe in this. So all to say, it really is much more than just technology. However, I'm a technologist, I'm not an economist nor a psychologist, so I'm going to focus on technology. So this is the way I view blockchain. The title of this is bigger than blockchain, and it really is. So this is what we actually implemented at the CDC. You're more than welcome to go and look at my blog there from last year. The net of it is this. To me, so much of what we talk about blockchain enabling happens off the chain and must happen off the chain, at least for now. And it's really kind of gets this idea of what is the blockchain going to manifest? Largely in the world of healthcare and public health, is trading data. It's a data exchange mechanism, a trusted one, albeit. But how do you get the data to it? The data is not going to be originated in the blockchain. It's very unlikely, unless you're in Dubai or Estonia, right? So where's the data? How do you get it? It turns out the data is siloed, right? It turns out the way to go about this is a modern way of thinking about what I think of as forward-looking architecture, where you think about functions as a set of open APIs that all interact. And here's an API gateway to allow you to regulate communications at the software level. It becomes a machine-to-machine world. And to me, if you're getting anything out of this 5 or 6 hours here, is that we are getting closer and closer to machine world, to edge computing, where we have sensors and machine software working together. So this blockchain is more than just the functional layer, and again, I encourage you to look at the blog if you want to see more details about it, but there is underneath the functions, there's the blueprint layer, which is largely open source. That's the way we conceived it. I'm a big proponent of open source. And then underneath it is the secret sauce. The secret sauce to build software in this way. And I know Jose, I'm not sure if he's here, spoke about microservices, which is great. This is what we're talking about. But you need to be able to DevOps. You need to be able to build software that can be auto-deployed, right? That can have continuous integration, continuous development, deployment rather, and real-time monitoring, and that can be deployed as decoupled software, right? This is the secret sauce in order for us to build software that then in time can be used for blockchain. So all this stuff, we're doing this, so what's the point? The point, I think, is this. Looks like this. Would you mind forwarding the point? Whoa, here we go. Okay, it is already now. Okay, great. So the point is this. The point is for us to get to richer data. in the world of healthcare, I'm not saying in every industry, but if I could go from my isolated clinical trial data or clinical research data to a large set of data, include real-world evidence, include sensor data, include genomic data, there is value in that. I think of it as data as currency. Sean Cotton at the FDA calls it data as function. It's the same concept, but that's really important. And how do we get there? It's really through this idea of building a theme park where you have playgrounds that have different experiences, but ultimately it's one kind of a collective experience. All right. Would you mind forwarding it, please? Thank you. So ultimately, what does more data give you? It gives you this, and everybody talks about machine learning. Well, if you want to get reinforcement learning or deep learning, if you want to get machine learning done, you need at least 3 of the 7 V's. You need to have volume, you need to have velocity, and you need to have variety. Right? Having a tiny data set, on a SQL server, that's not going to give you machine learning return for the buck. And so that's the whole idea. That's why we're doing this. Because we want to go from hindsight, looking back, like financial reports, last year's report, and like describing what happened, to predicting what might happen. And then ultimately, in the machine-to-machine world, prescribing by the machine what could happen. Forward, please. Thank you. All right, so, how do we do this? It's great to talk about, we have world data and all this beautiful insight. Well, it turns out, and dollars to donuts, most of us here in this room are on the left-hand side. We have data that's manifested as relational tables, right? Hands in the air? Come on, surely, right? So, but that's a problem because that's siloed data. If you wanted to make a change, so for instance, you come to me and say, hey, Jim, here's this wonderful sensor data. I want to add it to our system. I'm like, come back in a year. That is a reality. And there's a lot of consulting firms and contractors making loads of money off of that. But that's not acceptable, not in 2018. So to me, the way to do it is this. This is what Google does on the right-hand side. They take data, they manifest it as unstructured data. They put it in a NoSQL database like Cassandra or Mongo or something like this. Then they run full-text modern, full-text indexing and full-text search. Then they curated it back as APIs, through APIs. The right-hand side, again, this is exactly what we did at CDC, and took what would have taken amounted to years of work in terms of elapsed time and collapsed it to sometimes days to fully implement brand new requirements and data. Thank you. There we go. So again, this was mentioned a bit earlier. I'm not going to get into too much, but this whole idea of microservices really comes down to thinking about software as small atomic units of function. Right? Not as gigantic thing, like, I go to IBM and they give me everything. So, and then how do you really build this? You could go forward, please. Thank you, yeah. So it's really this, that you have different permutations and combinations of what we call foundation services, which is common software, versus unique software. That's an actual real example from work at the CDC. And that's how you build it, and then you can repurpose, you can rebuild, you can manifest in different ways. And then one last thing, if we just fast forward, please. So just to recap everything, this is a blockchain conversation after all. To me, this is a roadmap. I think, if you got to think, if you're public, you got to think with the end in mind, which is a public blockchain, but how do you get there? I think it's a roadmap that looks somewhat like this. That's it. Thank you. I appreciate it.